Well, hello, everybody in podcast land. This is your host, Rudrani Devi, for the Get Happy podcast. Booyah! Let's do this. And today I have a very special guest, and I'm going to hope I get her name right. I know Kalpana Raghuraman.
You nailed it.
Hallelujah. Now, this is the thing. We're recording this during COVID time, early 2021, and I am so grateful for the COVID-19 so that I could meet this lovely lady, because I don't know when it would have finally happened, maybe sooner or later. But because of this, we're all on little square boxes in all these different classes, and I've been following actually every day, stalking her. We've been doing this challenge where we've been doing clearing statements that Dr. Dane here, the co-founder of Access Consciousness, gave us to do. She's been doing a lovely job. And I think tomorrow's day 60. And there are times when I could barely keep my eyes open, Kalpana. I mean,
yeah.
The things we were moving were just incredible.
True
so thank
story.
you. Thank you so much for, for choosing to create that kind of order out of all the chaos.
Thank you.
And being our leader. And if you don't mind, please tell our listeners who you are and what you be.
Yeah. So I I'm an Access Consciousness certified facilitator. I live in Brussels. At this moment, I am in Brussels where we are recording this conversation in Belgium. And I was born and brought up in the Netherlands. That is not so far from here, about a 2-hour drive, and born to South Indian parents. I was born in the Netherlands, brought up in the Netherlands. I studied cultural anthropology there. And my mom was one of the first people who had an Indian dance school. So I learned dance from my mom. And I have my own dance company in the Netherlands.
Okay, I knew you had the dance company, but what type of dance is it? Is it Indian dance?
Well, my work is inspired. So my background is classical Indian dance, Bharatanatyam. And
I would love to learn. I was in a dance company for several years growing up.
Cool.
When I was very young until high school, and then it fell away. I taught a little bit, but tap and jazz. But Indian dance, it looks so hard.
Well, like anything, it is something you need to work on to master. And my dance company, I basically use classical Indian dance elements as well as musical elements, as well as any inspirational elements from the culture, and bring it together with urban dance, with hip hop, with contemporary dance, and really create my own style and dance language, I would say. So that's what I have a company in the Netherlands that tours and we make work. And I have my Access Consciousness business where I facilitate classes and sessions. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you have like a YouTube channel where we can see all this dancing?
Yeah, yes, if you go to Kalpan Arts, that's the name of my company, you will find all the dance stuff. And if you want to find my stuff, you just have to type my name.
Fantastic. Yeah. I will make sure it's all down there where y'all can find it.
Thank you.
I'm going to be stalking you in another way, because I knew you were a dancer. I'm a singer, and I knew you were a dancer.
Yeah, I know.
And I used to do some dancing. In fact, in one of my songs, I'm actually tap dancing.
Oh, nice.
So a song that I wrote called "Get on the Dance Floor." It's like a funky number, and then I do the break. I do some tap dancing, or we call it hoofing here in the US of A. Yeah, hoofers. We're hoofers. So maybe one day we can play together some. When I see you, and I can actually hug your juicy body.
That would be so fun.
Can't wait for that day to come. So I'm just curious. I've always wondered how people find Access Consciousness. It's always such an interesting story how people accidentally on purpose stumble into
it. Yeah, totally. So my story is one of those accidental on purpose ones. My dad randomly sends me stuff and sent me an interview with an Access Consciousness certified facilitator and said, this looks like really interesting. I think you'd like this. And half of the time when he sends me stuff, I'm like, yeah, sure. And I don't look. And that one I looked and I was like, holy shit, this is super interesting. So I told him, did you look properly? Did you listen? It's really cool. And he said, yeah, I listened quickly, but I just got a hit that you would like it. And And I was like, yeah, it's so super cool. And so actually my dad at that moment was in India, and he was super curious to find out more, realized there was nobody in India yet doing Access, got a facilitator to India, and basically started the flame of Access consciousness in India.
Your dad is the reason why Access Consciousness got started in India? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he had done a bars class and what we call foundation class before I had done anything. And so it was super interesting how, usually it's different. So this is another story.
I love that story.
Yeah.
I would love to meet your dad. I think that's
Yes.
fabulous. He must be really super cool.
My parents, I chose well. Yeah.
So what did you do? You went to a bars class and then that was it?
Actually, at the moment that I got to know about Access, interestingly enough, I just was listening to a lot of stuff online there's so much material for free, and I was traveling a lot, so I was listening a lot, and immediately was like, geeking out on the clearing statement, and started to play with the tools straight away, started to ask questions straight away, and ended up only doing a bars class a few months later, and loved it. Went to Malaysia to do a dance, to make a performance, and used everything I knew with all the dancers there, gave them bar sessions, like basically immediately started to play with it. And so I would say the first year that I knew Access, because I was touring and stuff like that, I wasn't, and I was not, I would say, so smart to go look for it in the city I was going to. I was just playing with whatever I could get my hands on, and I was reading all the Access books, and I was really implementing it straight away. And then when I got back from touring and stuff, and it was really the next year that I went for it like crazy. I had a little bit more time. I wasn't touring. So I did my foundation class, and I basically did like a bunch of classes. And the year after I became a CF. So it was just like super fast.
Wow. You did the fast track.
Yeah.
Totally did the fast track. See, for me, I discovered it in 2003, but I did because Gary and Dane Gary was channeling at the time, and he was at a friend of mine's house. And Gary, by the way, if you guys don't know, Gary Douglas is the founder of Access Consciousness. And we had a mutual friend, Kent Blasey, and he channeled in his home. And at one time, Nashville was actually the hub. Wow. And man, it was like US in a few states, and Australia was just getting started. And that was really it. There's really like nowhere else. And now I'm working to, get Nashville back on the map again. And we're in 185 countries.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. And I just realized I was on a call recently where someone mentioned that Barbie's only in 65 countries.
That's hilarious. I'm just saying.
Access consciousness it hasn't been around as long as Barbie, but we're more popular.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's cool.
Love it.
And when I got to know Access and the tools, I definitely never honestly thought I was going to become a facilitator. I just immediately started to play with it and use it in my dance business and everything. And as I went to all the classes, that I've seen you choose classes, like the thirst and the excitement for more, and just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then it was like, my husband was like, you should become a facilitator. You're having so much fun and it's so natural for you. And I was like, yeah, I think I want to do that. And my parents were like, you should do that. Like, you should do that. They were like super excited. And so I literally remember, like, when I became a certified facilitator, the first year training, in my head, this was something I was going to do on the side if I had some free time.
Side hustle, right? That's what it was supposed to be for me too. That's totally side hustle,
Exactly.
And then, consciousness has something else in mind for you.
Right? The consciousness was like, yeah, whatever, dude, whatever, just do the freaking training and get yourself going. And so my first foundation class, my parents were in my first foundation class that I facilitated. And it was awesome. It was really cool to be able to be myself, even with your parents, talking about quite a lot of intense things. And they have been cheerleaders for me to keep going. So I'm really, really lucky. And it's been just so much fun, and my dance has kept on going, and so has my Access business. And I love the name of your podcast, because that energy of happiness is really for me, something that is part of everything in my life. So and your energy is like, it's so matching. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting. This podcast got created from my third book called Choosing Happiness, which now speaks Portuguese and Spanish, and believe it or not, it's getting translated into Russian. I would have never thought the Russians would want to get happy. I
Wow.
was really quite
Wow.
pleasantly surprised by that.
You were quite shocked.
And now I have someone approaching me about translating it in Slovenian.
Wow.
Like, I didn't expect that either. I don't, I never know where it's going to go. It's like a toddler that I am chasing. I just don't know where it's going to land. And we just did the audio book, which was really
Wow.
exciting. So that should be available. We hope by the end of March 2021.
That's
So
exciting.
yeah, I got to read that, and so amazing. You sound like me. When I finally decided to leap, I went for it. In the beginning, I just took a bars class, and that's all I was going to take, bars and level 1 and 2, which at that
Okay.
time foundation was 3 and 4. And
Exactly.
after I took bars, I was like, what's this level 1 and 2 thing? It's like the next 4 days. I think I might have to. So I was supposed to facilitate an EFT class, and I canceled it. so I could
Wow.
so I could take that class. And then at that time they were streaming Gary. Gary was the only one doing level 3 and 4 at the time. So I took
Right.
that class, and then I had to take the 3-day body class, and then I had to
Class.
take it again, and then I had to take the advance, and I wasn't doing the ESBs and all of that yet, but it was like, I just wanted to certify as many bars people as I could. So
That's
that's what
amazing.
it was. I was like a bars class, like at
Let's
least
go.
2 or 3 times a month. I was doing these bars classes, and they're like, who are you, this person who is teaching all these bars classes? But it wasn't until after the fourth person I'd hosted for foundation that my peeps were like, why aren't you facilitating? You know more than she
Mm.
does.
Oops. You're like, hey, maybe I know something.
I was literally co-facilitating with her, and I knew
Wow.
some things she didn't know. And I thought, and she'd been in Access for maybe 2 years. And here I'd been involved for, I don't know,
So long.
12, 13 years. So I
Wow.
leaped, and it was the
Nice.
best decision I ever made. And now I'm a right voice for you facilitator, and on my way to Relationships Done Different, which I believe you're also a Relationship Done
I
Different.
am. It's
And
amazing.
you're also an X-Men facilitator,
No,
right?
I'm a talk to the entities facilitator.
Oh,
I'm a 3-day body class facilitator.
oh wow.
And I'm a being you facilitator and a relationships done different facilitator.
Yes.
And then I have 2 specialty classes that I'm quite known for. It's the Access Consciousness Manipulation 101 class. And
Love
Joy,
that.
that Gary gave me that title, and Joy of Movement, which is also a class that Gary gave. Because once I started to facilitate, I was like, and there was a lot of questions about what was possible with bodies and movement. He's like, why don't you do this one? And yeah.
Okay, I'm signing up for that one. It's possible for me to be there with you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have a specialty class too. The
Yes, I saw that.
the Get Happy Book Club.
I saw that. That's so
Like,
cool.
the whole book is basically an Access 101 book. I wanted a book that people that are stuck with trying to come up with definitions, because you can't really define
Hmm.
access anyway, could
Hmm.
be like when the family member or a friend goes, what is this access stuff you're doing? I don't get it. And you
Mm.
find yourself sort of tongue tied. And Gary always said that less is more anyway. So
Mhm.
basically, like, you want to know what I'm doing? Here's this book. And
Mm.
then I go through just all the tools of access, more or less, the ten keys to total freedom, and then all the
Yeah.
others, the beginner ones, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty amazing, because that's how this little yellow book has really helped me build a community here in Nashville and the surrounding areas. Now I have people looking for bars classes,
That's
and I've
amazing.
facilitated one last Saturday. I'm facilitating one this coming Saturday. 2
Mm.
weeks from that, I'm facilitating. It's like the early days. So what is your favorite tool of access consciousness? I'm curious. Or I know you probably have a million favorites, but
Well, it has been, I would say, ever since I got to know it and I started to use and live with it, it's really interesting point of view. It is my all-time favorite. It just rocks my world and has created so much change, so much relaxation. You know all about the performance world, how crazy it is, and the people, an interesting point of view. OMG, with dealing with people and with myself. Yeah,
get
interesting
it.
point of view, definitely. And also, I mean, like you said, tons of them, but that one, and also like really being this energy of like, okay, what will create the most?
Mhm. I
Yeah.
love I love it. Yeah, interesting point of view. When you talk about entertaining, I totally get it, because everyone has a point of view about how. Well, I know, for example, I'm a backup vocalist for several bands, and then I'm a lead singer for my own band, and I'm primarily a funk artist.
Wow.
funk R&B, and then I've sung for rock bands and funk rock bands and
Wow.
country artists and all this stuff, and everybody has a point of view about where I should go vocally, which I
And
find
how you should go.
exactly. It's interesting because I can remember being this just brings up where interesting point of view really worked out for me, where I
Mhm.
was at a rehearsal and we would rehearse in a basement as if we were on stage. So it's not
Mm.
like we were in a circle or anything where we could play off of each other. We were playing like we were, because we were professionals and we are just going to get this exactly right. And I can remember, we were doing a Prince tribute show and I'm doing the backup vocals and doing percussion. And the lead singer says, "You did that wrong." And I went, "Okay, cool." And in my
Wow.
head, interesting point of view. You have that point of view. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. And, interesting point of view. I have that point of view about his point of view. And then I went, "Well, that's cool. Tell me how it is you want me to do it. I don't have a point of view about it. I want to do it the way you would like it done." And
Mhm.
it took about a year for him to realize that I was really a team player. It's his band. If you're in my
Yeah.
band, I'll be the boss and tell you what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting point of view. In the past, I would have gotten my feelings hurt. I would have contracted. I would have been like, wow, why does he hate me so much?
Yeah. Upset and think about it after for really long and be busy with it.
Sure,
Yeah.
4 martinis later. No, I'm just joking.
Exactly.
So yeah, I really do love that tool so much. That's a great one. But another one that's also really helped me a lot. I don't know about you, but who does this belong to?
It's the one that we tend to forget, right? It's so powerful. Yeah.
So for you guys that don't know that are listening in podcast land, for any thought, feeling, or emotion that comes into your world, you got to ask, who does this belong to? Especially if it feels wonky, because
Yeah.
if it's true for you, you're going to feel light. But have you ever noticed that when it feels wonky, you feel heavy and contracted and you're like, what's this?
Yeah.
So that's the first clue. Our true nature is to be joyful, y'all.
Exactly. Yeah, really. If it's not joyful, it's not you, right?
Right.
So,
And so that's what makes it so easy for me now. The minute I
mm,
start to feel heavy, like, okay, who does
what's
this
up?
belong to?
What am I aware of? Yeah.
And then
Cool.
immediately it's like return to sender with loving kindness and awareness, because it's really that easy to give it back. And
Yeah.
you don't have to facilitate them, people.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
don't have
Exactly.
to take it
But
on.
that's the big one. We tend to go into explaining or defending, and then you're just getting stuck and it's not going anywhere. So
Do you remember the first time you actually met Gary Douglas or Dr. Dane here? Do you have a
both,
story
yeah.
about that?
Yeah. Well, I met Dane, I met when I did my first bars class in Amsterdam, and he actually came to Amsterdam to do an evening class.
Oh,
And yeah, it was a one-off. I think he was kind of traveling through Amsterdam. It was an evening class, and I was blown away, like we all are the first time we meet Dane. I was really like, really like, yeah. And it was like, I think it was the end of the bars class day or something. So I was still like half,
oh, sure, you're fried.
face, and yeah, and met him, and I was really touched. And Gary, my husband is really not so much into all this, but he lives a lot of it. A lot of it for him is like, yeah, what do you mean we have
He
to talk about
embodies
this?
it, I
He
bet.
embodies it a lot.
Yeah.
So but he got really interested because he saw that it's so pragmatic and practical, and
Oh.
so he wanted to do that 2 and 3, and was like, okay, if I have to do a 2 and 3, what do I need to do for that? So he basically did the bars class so that he could do that 2 and 3 class. And he was like, yeah, whatever the bars, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I want to meet this guy. And so we did.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so it was really very other way around. It was really funny.
Huh.
Yeah.
So he did the 2 and 3. Were you at that class as well? Is that when you met Gary for the first time as well? Or?
Yes, it was a 2013 Copenhagen in March. And that was the first time, like, I was like, hey, Gary Douglas is coming to Europe. He's coming to, Copenhagen. Should we go? And he's like, oh, we should go. And it was kind of like, this was maybe in November or something. So like this literally went like that. So it's amazing. And we laughed so much. I remember, how hilarious and to the point he is. And I remember the first interaction was with him was like in break. He walked by us and he said, hey guys, don't have so much fun, you're way too happy. And then he walked on, and we were like, oh my god, he's so funny, like, and just, yeah, that
Who says
man.
that? Who even gives you
Exactly. I still remember going, hey you guys, stop having so much fun, you're way too happy. And I was just like, this man. So yeah, impossible to forget.
Yeah, for me, it was the advanced 3-day. I had
Mm,
taken only one 3-day, and I was such a superior asshole. I thought, I've been a healer for all these years. I shouldn't
I
have to take
know.
it twice to do the advanced. So I'm like emailing him and going, "Hey, these are my credentials, and I think I should be able to do the advanced." And crickets. There's like nothing. Here I was being so righteous about who
Yeah.
I was. And people already know me in my town, and blah blah blah. And so what I ended up doing was I hosted a 3-day
Oh,
in Nashville. And then one day on my phone, I see Gary Douglas's name pop up on my phone. And I got so excited. And I was like, what can I be to make this ease and joy and glory? And all
mm,
these clearing statements.
kidding.
And
Yeah.
then I pick up and I'm like, hello? And it's not Gary.
Oh,
It's
that's weird. You're like,
somebody calling from Gary Douglas's house saying,
what?
"Hey, Gary Douglas wanted to invite you personally to come to his 3-day advanced class. We see that you've taken 2 of the
Ah,
3-day classes." So here I was, the normal person that had to take the 2 classes, whatever.
yeah,
And it was
yeah.
Hollywood, Florida. And,
Wow,
it was a little tight for cash. So I asked one of my clients if they would pay for the class and I could work it off. And they said yes. And so I
amazing.
get there and I'm not there for 5 minutes and I almost ran right into him. And I just went, "Wow, that's really a great shirt." And he said, "Well, thank you." And he goes, "That's really a nice dress." And I was like, "Well, thank you." And then I'm like, I sound like an idiot. In my head, I'm going, I'm such an idiot. And then he starts to talk. And within 30 minutes, he's pairing us up. And I was the second person he paired up with, Glenna Rice.
Oh, wow,
Girl, I
Glenna.
had never been to a function in
Yeah,
person before.
yeah.
And you could hear people rubbernecking going, "Who's this girl that he just?" And then I found out later who Glenna Rice was and all that, whatever status, but it was a really interesting thing because everybody was looking at me the whole time. I was very self-conscious. But what I
Mm.
noticed, I didn't know that you couldn't just ask questions, that you were supposed to go up to a microphone. So I would just blurt out questions to him and he would answer me. And found out later that's not
You're not
protocol.
allowed, not supposed to be that way.
Bad humanoid. And I
Very
still
bad with Ronnie.
will do it. We're in classes and I'll be texting, "Hey, what?" And he'll text me back. I don't know. I so love that man so much. He's changed my world so many
Absolutely. Oh
ways.
my
And so
God.
that's what this podcast is about. I want to
Yeah.
show others that they can choose, they can change their life with ease
Yeah.
and joy and glory. It's not rocket science. It's actually very pragmatic. You'd be surprised. There's really, it's
That's
really
the
not
thing,
that
right? We
difficult.
think it has to be complicated for it to be effective, and it's absolutely not. Just
Absolutely.
requires you to choose it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Cool.
if there was something you would want to leave with our listeners and in
Hmm.
future our viewers, because we are doing Zoom here for the
Yes.
future,
For the
but
future.
it'll be on the podcast first for you listeners. Um, what would you want to leave them with?
Well, I love what you just said about choice and change. Like, there might be, like, even if I look at myself, when I started Access, I was happy. I was married, my work was going fine, everything was good, and I knew there was more available. So you might have things in your life that are like awesome, and there might be things that you're like, oh, could be more fun, could be easier. And what if you start to look at what you would like to ask for? If something's going good, awesome. What else can you ask for? And if something is not working, cool. Okay, that's information. This isn't working. So what can I ask for? Because the asking is really like sending out an energetic email so the universe can respond. But then, some emails you send an email and the person writes you back like literally in a minute. Some emails you send out and they take a few months. It's a bit like this. So
Yeah.
this like, in a way, giving yourself permission to ask and get present with what you would like is such an awesome exercise, because you might surprise yourself what it is that you would like that you didn't think about because you've just not given yourself a chance.
Yeah.
So this is something I would like to, because these are daily things, right? It can be simple things, it can be big things, it can be everything. If there was no small and big, you can ask anything, go for it, make that list, and then send that email to the universe and let the universe take care of it. It's not your problem anymore.
Yeah, and the universe wants to gift you. That's what y'all have got to
Exactly.
get. I mean, it's waiting for
Exactly.
you to ask. It
Exactly.
really is. If you put it out there and it falls all over itself to give you myriad choices and possibilities. And that's
Exactly.
where choice creates. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that feels like fun. Maybe I'll try that. You
Yep.
know, I was in my hot tub. I commune with the earth every morning. That's
Mm.
my, like, my little meditation time. And I was in the hot tub the other day with an umbrella because it was raining and I wasn't going to be stopped by a little rain, you know? And I
Of
was like,
course not.
it's like, universe, show me something beautiful. And this bird flies in under the umbrella, under the part of the, I don't know how to, because you guys can't see what I'm doing with my hands, but I'd only lifted the top halfway.
Hmm.
So it's kind of at an angle and the bird flies and just sits there for a moment and looks at me. I'm like,
Ah, so cute.
and then it just, oh, I'm not supposed to be here or something. But you know, I kind of did a little SOPing energy with the bird and it made a little tweety noise and then it just flew away. And I was like, wow, that is the coolest thing. And it's, I don't know what kind of bird, it's miniature like woodpecker type of bird, white,
Mm.
black spotted thing. And they're only about the size, about maybe 2/3 the size of my hand. It's not like those giant woody woodpecker types,
Mm.
but I'd
Mm.
never seen one up close and it was just so beautiful. And so a simple ask like that, and look what showed up. And you know,
Exactly.
sometimes it doesn't show up the way you think it's going to, because I certainly didn't expect that.
Mostly not, I would add. Go ask and then allow it to show up and do whatever is required when you get the hit.
Right. Don't go
Yeah.
into all the form of structure of how it's supposed to look. You
No,
know,
because
hey, universe,
yeah,
I'll be able to receive it if it looks like this, sounds like this, smells like this, tastes like this.
yeah.
No, it's like winning the lottery. You don't care how you win the lottery, or you don't care how
It-
you get the money, whether it's a
no,
bag that falls from the sky or you win the lottery or whatever it is.
or you
Your
find
ask,
it or whatever. Yeah,
your
exactly.
ask is I want to have more money than God, and then let it go and see what shows up for you.
True story. Totally.
So
Totally.
well, this has been a
Yeah.
fabulous conversation, my love.
Thanks, Rudrani. Thanks for having me. And everybody, thanks for listening or
Absolutely.
watching later.
And if people were going to be looking for you, where would they find you?
They could, if they find a way to know how you spell my name, they would write they would write my name and add point .com.
That's going to be easy for my podcast listeners because your name will be there. All right.
Right? So it's my name, Kalpana Raghuraman, point .com, and then you got me. You can find me on my website.
That sounds fantastic. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much again. And if those of you in podcast land enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe below, hit the like button, share with those you can perceive would really enjoy this conversation. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you checking in each week or when you can. And so until next time, ciao, ciao for now. Oh, it didn't pause, but we'll get it on the back end.